Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. We're ready.
North Carolina State University and North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. This is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
How do you hear me?
Hello, North Carolina. The International Space Station has you loud and clear. Welcome aboard.
Hello. Fantastic. Christina, you've got a room filled with people from North Carolina State University and North Carolina School of Science and Math and schools from all over our state. We're thrilled to be with you. Thank you for giving us some of your time today. And we've got a group of students that can't wait to ask you questions. And one more thing, go Pack.
Go Pack. Sir, it's my pleasure to be with you all today, and I couldn't be more excited to share this moment with you, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
My name is Cynthia Rios, and my question is, what is the biggest challenge to the future of space exploration, and what excites you most about the future of space exploration?
Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for that question. I think some of the challenges that we face right now aren't even technical in nature. Obviously, NASA has shown that we are really good at taking technological leaps, doing the next big thing, the next innovation. What may be more of a challenge is actually finding that long-term sustainable purpose and goal that we can all get behind, that we can devote the resources to and the time to make it happen in the long term. I think the most exciting part about space exploration right now is exactly what NASA is pursuing, which is the Artemis program. That program is going to get us back to the moon by 2024 and then have a sustained human presence on the moon by 2028. And all that is to continue the work that we did there before with the goal of having it be a technology proving ground for the next giant leap, which would be a Mars mission with humans. I'm so excited about the Mars mission because I think not only is it a great example of human exploration and pushing the frontiers, but it also gives us a chance to answer a question that I think is hugely important philosophically and for the question of our age, really, and that is, are we alone? And I think going to Mars with people can answer that question.
My name is Nina Louise Wayne, and my question is, several men traveled to the moon in the mid to late 20th century. How challenging is it to go back to the moon 50 years later? What is the significance of a female moonwalk this time around?
You know, I think that it is still a challenging mission, and one of the reasons is that we're going with new goals for a new generation. When we went before, we went to visit, to explore, sort of as a recon mission, and now we'd be going back and we'd be going to stay. We also are going to be visiting a new part of the moon. We're going to be landing people at the South Pole, which is a place we've never been and that has some really exciting opportunities for resources. I think the significance of having a female walk on the moon means that right now we are in a time and in an era where we are taking contributions from anyone who dares to dream, anyone who has innovative ideas, and those contributions will all be put towards the success of the mission. Also, the inspirational aspects of it really can't be understated. We're looking at a time when it is so important that all future American innovators see STEM fields as a way that they can contribute to these exciting goals and these exciting successes that we're coming together to accomplish.
My name is Connor Davis, and my question is, astronauts are experts in their respective fields, engineering, biology, aviation, etc. What are some lesser-known skills or abilities commonly found among astronauts?
Connor, great question. I think I'll handle that question in two different ways. One is that we are expected to actually do science even outside of our field of expertise. So as you may know, I studied physics and electrical engineering there at NC State, but just this morning I participated in a biology type of experiment where I actually had to pipette microliters of biological material over 300 times. So that is definitely not something that I learned in my circuits classes. And the other interesting set of skills that astronauts have to have is what we call expeditionary behavior skills. We actually get a lot of training in things like leadership, followership, team care, self-care, group living, and other ways that we can ensure that we have a successful long-term mission. My mission, as you know, is about 11 months on board the space station. The standard mission is about 6 months. So to be able to live with other crewmates in close quarters and continue to do your best every single day takes a lot of those expeditionary skills behaviors. And that's something that NASA thinks is very important and trains us on from day one.
My name is Emma Tucker, and my question is, as a woman in science and engineering who has inspired many young people like myself, which women inspired you to pursue your dreams?
Thank you, Emma. Well, I think the first that come to mind are some women that I hear are in the room there with you today. My Aunt Teresa inspired me with her positive attitude and her outlook on life. My sister Denise inspired me because she's just a steadfast person who is confident and believes in herself, not to mention super smart. My mom was an inspiration. She studied biology and was a math teacher, so had those STEM fields. And then my grandmother. My grandmother is the hardest working person I know, and I think that her work ethic really rubbed off on me. Looking outside of my family, I saw inspiration actually in social movements. So, for example, one woman that comes to mind that was an inspiration to me, particularly in college, is Ella Baker. Ella Baker did a lot of work in the Raleigh area. She founded the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee through some of her work at Shaw University, and she was instrumental in the civil rights movement. And the fact that she spoke out at that time was just so inspiring to me. So I look around at basically any woman who was strong, that believed in themselves, and that wasn't afraid to take on their own dreams full speed ahead. Those are the types of people that really inspire me.
My name is Ananya Nunna, and my question is, how do you feel time passing while in the International Space Station? How do you keep track of your time?
Well, in terms of keeping track of the time, I actually have my crewmates that do a better job of that for me. It was a couple weeks ago that I had my crewmate Alexi remind me that my halfway point on my mission was coming up. Otherwise, I don't really count days. I just like to take it one day at a time and always think about the things that I have up here that I'll never have again, instead of counting down to the end. In terms of pastimes, one of my favorite pastimes actually is photography. And this is one of my favorite tools for getting that done. As you may know or may not know, I was actually a photographer for the technician when I went to NC State. And I also used to work in the darkroom at Science and Math all the time. I was famous for my my time in the darkroom there. So I continued that hobby up here, and looking out the window and taking pictures of Earth and space is one of my favorite pastimes.
My name is Stepan Malkov, and my question is, how do space station astronauts from different countries and with different native languages effectively communicate with each other, especially concerning specific technical terminology and emergencies?
That is a great question. From the time I started my astronaut candidate training, I started learning the Russian language. Here on board the space station, there are kind of two official languages, English and Russian. And so all the astronauts that participate, even from other countries such as Japan and the different European countries, like for example, right now we have an Italian astronaut on board, we all speak both English and Russian. I will say it's kind of funny because I learned so many technical terms in Russian that for a long time I could talk about emergency situations, valves, thermal conditions, digital control loops for navigation, no problem in Russian. And where I actually had more trouble was just having a normal conversation with someone about what they maybe did over the weekend. So luckily, after having many months on board with my Russian crewmates, I'm a little bit better at small talk as well. But we do share common languages. The Russian crew members also speak English. When we are in the Soyuz vehicle, which is the Russian spacecraft that brings us to and from the space station, Russian is the official language. When we're in the U.S. and partner sections of the space station, it can be either Russian, English. We're kind of interchangeable.
My name is Emma Janes, and my question is, As someone who's lived an adventurous life, what is your thought process when dealing with fear?
Yep, thank you for that question. Well, for example, the feeling nervous about speaking in front of a lot of people. Luckily, right now, that's not as much of an issue since I can't see you all. But in general, when I take on different situations that might normally cause fear, I like to think about turning that fear into focus. I am a big preparer, so I prepare for different things that I'm going to experience by actually going through the mental exercise of putting myself in those situations and practicing how I'm going to react to those situations, both in my actions and things I'm going to verbalize. So I would say in aviation, we call that chair flying, and you can actually chair fly any situation. It doesn't just have to be flying a high-performance aircraft. It could be any situation you're going into that might cause you a little apprehension or nerves, and channeling that through preparation and channeling it into focus on how you can succeed in that situation has been my main way of dealing with things that would otherwise be situations with fear.
My name is Maitri Vanam, and my question is, if a health emergency occurs in space, what procedures do you have in place to handle it? And do you have a protocol in place in case someone immediately needs to get back to Earth?
We do have both procedures to handle it here on board and protocols for getting home quickly. So one of the ways that we prepare on board here is we do emergency drills with medical support teams talking us through the different procedures that we have. Here is our emergency medical treatment pack, and it actually contains anything we would need to deal with a trauma situation on board. We also have other packs and other different types of medical equipment. So we talk through, we have telemedicine operations and availability with surgeons on the ground that are in our mission control at almost all times. And then furthermore, we can do an urgent descent in the Soyuz vehicle if it was needed for medical reasons, and we can be down on the ground from undocking to the ground in just a few hours.
My name is Jeremy Peterson, and my question is, what advice or life lesson do you wish you had known when you were an NC State student that you have since learned and applied to your life or career?
You know, I think that when I was at NC State, I was what I would call fiercely individualistic. I really took on everything independently, and I wanted to figure everything out on my own. And something that I learned a little bit later in my career is the value of teamwork. I also had the opportunity to do more team projects sort of later in my years, in my master's degree years in electrical engineering at NC State. But I would say embrace teamwork, embrace your communication skills, embrace the things that help you to share and to get the most out of those technical skills that you're inevitably learning in all your classes. So that's the skill that I'd say has been most useful to me that I got a little bit later.
My name is Jacob Goldstein, and my question is, can you show us one of the hardest things to do when living and working in microgravity?
I can show you a couple things. The first thing that comes to mind is actually how easy it is to lose things here because they always want to float away. So to demonstrate that, I'll show you a standard way that we keep cargo on board. So we obviously have to stow a lot of supplies, equipment, spare parts, etc. up here. And these soft containers is one way that we stow those things. The problem arises when you first open it up. As you can see, everything wants to just fly out on its own. For example, this printed circuit board flew right out. This is something that NC State people from the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering made me as a memento for my space flight. And I have since added the famous Velcro strip to it so that it has officially flown in space now that it has Velcro, and it can be officially stuck to any other place on station with Velcro because we do have the problem of things floating away here. And now secondly, would be pouring yourself a glass of water. Here in space, obviously, we don't have cups, we don't have running water, and instead we have what we call drink pouches. So everything we drink, including our coffee in the morning, comes out of one of these pouches, because obviously we don't have a sink, we don't have running water, and we don't have drains or anything like that. We don't have the benefit of gravity to help us out with that kind of thing. And then finally, one thing I find challenging is moving around in microgravity. So let me show you an example of that. Now, I personally like bouncing around station like that. We have stowage everywhere on the ceiling and the floor, so it's easy to get around. In fact, my bedroom on station is actually in the ceiling, and I just bounce up when I need to go in there. So there's a lot of both pluses and minuses to microgravity, and like any place, you learn to live with the different challenges that you have in front of you.
My name is Jessica Colley, and my question is, what is one thing that you are not able to do on the space station that you wish you could do?
You know, day to day, I don't necessarily have a lot of things that I miss because, like I said, I just try and focus on the things that I have here that I won't ever have again. One thing, though, I have noticed that I occasionally miss is going outside. I love outdoor hobbies. I love rock climbing and surfing, and so I do miss doing those things. I miss the smell of the forest. I miss the smell of the ocean. But other than that, not too much that I actually miss other than my friends and family.
My name is Mackenzie Savage, and my question is, how have your experiences at NCSSM helped you with the astronaut selection process, mission training, and your current mission?
You know, those experiences at NCSSM cannot be understated in terms of how much they helped me to get to where I am today. I would say first and foremost, the actual motto of the school, accept the greater challenge. That idea of just constantly looking to the next challenge, the next thing to take on, the next thing to focus energy and to find success in doing and to find fulfillment in, really that got ingrained in me at NCSSM. My whole world opened up to me. You know, I was from Jacksonville, North Carolina, kind of a small town, small city, and then I went to NCSSM where there were people from Raleigh and Charlotte and all these big cities that I had heard about, and they had big opinions. They had seen so much more than I had seen, and just to realize that my mind had, you know, there was so much more to explore, so much more to learn, and the amount that my mind opened during that time is just can't be understated. In addition, NCSSM allowed me to pursue different areas within STEM fields that I found particularly interesting. I took a seminar on man in space, so I got to see the entire history of NASA, and that was something that was just self-motivated, and the system there allowed me to do it. I also got to participate in a high-speed photography class where I got to learn how to sort of combine experimental setups with my love of photography. I also took amazing art classes there, so I realized the power of creativity. I really just can't say enough about the different opportunities that I had that led me to want to live a life to explore.
My name is Joseph Talsma, and my question is, what are the most significant challenges involved in growing plants on the space station? And is oxygen produced by the plants noticeable? And are there any psychological benefits to growing plants in space?
I can say that I was someone who was very involved in the last couple experiments that we had growing plants, and it was very enjoyable. We do have to do it a little bit differently here because obviously the water doesn't naturally get pulled down below the roots and allow the roots to pick up water while it's doing that. And to prevent the roots from sort of just being covered in water and to have that prevent the uptake and drown the roots, we actually have to pack the plants in what we call a little plant pillow, which is kind of like a packet of soil type material that the roots can grow in. And it has a tube sticking out of it that we actually inject water in with a syringe. So watering the garden, as you can imagine, isn't quite the same as on Earth. It's a much more technical process. I don't think that the amount of plants that we had on board currently affected the level of oxygen on board. But the psychological benefits, I think, are tangible. And we're actually studying that through a series of experimental surveys that the crew is taking as we interact with the plants. I know that in my time in Antarctic and Arctic bases, we always have plants and a greenhouse, and that was definitely a source of just, a sensory experience that you can't otherwise have. So I think plant growth on board is not only important for the possibility of growing food and the actual life support systems aspects of it, but as you mentioned, the psychological aspects as well.
Hey, Christina, this is NCSSM Chancellor Todd Roberts, and for all the hundreds of people that are in the room here this morning, I want to thank you for a truly amazing and out-of-this-world experience. You modeled the career and life opportunities that North Carolina students can achieve through talent, hard work, and the amazing public education that we all receive. So we wish you a very safe rest of your mission and cannot wait to welcome you back to Earth and home. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
And sir, thank you for this opportunity. It has certainly been my honor to be a part of it and to hopefully inspire people. I know that when I look down on North Carolina, it inspires me up here. So thank you.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants from North Carolina State University and North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.